few days ago, I released a video about Charlie Kirk. For reasons I don't understand and can't explain, a few days after his passing, I received a major download regarding his passing and his afterlife journey. Why this information was given to me, I'm still not clear on, because Charlie Kirk was not an individual that I followed regularly. I don't know a whole lot about him. I know a little bit about him, not a lot. And after I recorded that video, there were some very interesting comments that came up. And some of them were from Charlie fans who were very upset that I was even talking about him. Other people claimed that I was using his name just to get views. And others were telling me that my vision was inaccurate. There's a specific part that numerous people commented on, and I want to explain that part of the vision. But before I do want to say that whenever you are receiving a reading from a psychic medium, or if you're watching a video just like this one, and there's facts that are wrong, you can validate that the facts are wrong, right? You have proof that the information is wrong. It is important to bring that up. So for those of you who commented on the last video and you were like, hey, you're wrong on this, here are the facts, this is the fact of the matter, that's exactly what you need to do. Let me repeat that. If a psychic is inaccurate and you have facts to bring it up or to prove that that was wrong, that is the right thing to do for a few reasons. One is that sometimes psychics receive so much information at once that it kind of layers on top of each other. And so the visions and the feelings and the intuitive information that we receive can be hard to separate because we're getting it all at the same time. The second is that sometimes we just don't explain things well. And that was the mistake that I made in the last video, which I'm going to rectify in this one. Hopefully, we'll see. Sometimes they just don't explain it well, because when you receive information intuitively, again, especially when it's a lot, it can be hard to find the words to express what it is that you're sensing, what you're feeling, what you're picking up from the spirit world. The third reason is that I think it's always important to see how the psychic responds. Do they get defensive? Do they get angry? Do they take the time to explain? These are going to tell you, I believe, about the character of that psychic. And not everyone who has psychic abilities uses them for good reasons. I'll put it that way. Not everyone who has psychic or intuitive gifts are good people. Sometimes I have seen psychics in which, when they were told they were wrong, they threw a fit, they got upset, and that is someone who is doing this type of work probably for attention and fame and not to actually be of service. And I guess it's possible that maybe they're just having a bad day too. I mean, none of us are perfect, right? So really what you're looking for are the patterns and how they express themselves, explain themselves when they are told they are incorrect. So I think that there are a lot of good reasons to mention it when a psychic is wrong, right? So with that said, let me introduce myself. My name is Nicole Guillaume. I am a psychic medium. I help aspiring psychics to strengthen their gifts so that they can have confidence in themselves and read energy with ease. Now, when it came to the last video that I created about Charlie Kirk, numerous people told me that one part of my vision was absolutely incorrect. In that video, I talked about how after Charlie left his body, he had a 360 view of everything happening all around him. He saw the chaos in the crowd and he saw his family. He saw his wife and kids, and he went to them very quickly. I think I said very quickly. And what I didn't mention in the video was when I received that downloaded information, when I saw that vision, I saw her, his wife, going through a myriad of emotions. I saw her scream. I saw her at peace. I saw her just going through all these different facial expressions in a very short amount of time. And it was interesting. Like, she had mixed feelings or emotions about what had taken place. And Charlie looked very confused. He was very confused seeing his wife and his kids there in the crowd. And then he turned around and he saw his body on stage, and he saw Jesus smiling at him, and he saw some other people in the spirit world that he knew. And of course, Jesus got his attention, so he went rushing over to Jesus. Totally understandable. I would do the same thing. Most of us would. So many people commented in the comment section of that video to let me know that Charlie's wife and kids and his family were not there at this event. Numerous people pointed that out. And because they were not there, because his family was not there, and I stated that he saw them in the crowd, so he rushed over to them, many people said, well, this dismisses your entire reading, right? If you got this wrong, then obviously all of your visions are wrong, and this is BS. So I'm going to take a moment to explain to you that part of the vision and what I believe was happening in Charlie's afterlife journey. So the first thing I want to mention is that in my vision, when I saw his wife and his kids there, and I saw him looking at them, and I saw him being confused, even though I knew I was seeing them in what appeared to be the crowd in this craziness, I also heard a voice that said they weren't there. So I heard a voice in my head say they weren't there. I knew that they weren't there, but at the same time, I was seeing them there. Now, keep in mind, I don't know a lot about Charlie. I was not someone who followed his show or really anything about him. I didn't follow him on social media. The only little bits of information I have from him is whatever little reels happen to pop up or TikTok videos happen to pop up when I was watching other things on my phone. So I don't know a lot about this man. Now, what can happen in the afterlife when people cross over, and this is well documented, and I came with receipts, okay? I came with receipts. When you get to the other side, time moves differently. And when you listen to all the different stories that are now out there or from people who have had near-death experiences, it becomes very clear that they experience time differently. Most people who have died and come back were on the other side. They were dead. Their heart stopped beating. Their brain stopped working for seconds or for minutes, right? Seconds or minutes, not a long time. Yet when they come back, when their spirit comes back and their body is revived, they often talk about how they were in heaven or they were in the afterlife for days, weeks, months, even years. In fact, Mayim Bialik had a guest on her podcast. I think it's called Breakdown. Mayim Bialik Breaks It Down. Why am I suddenly having a hard time with their name? Anyways, it's one of my favorite podcasts. I am addicted to her YouTube channel. Go check it out. I will have a link to this specific video in the description area. So, check that out if you want. But she had a woman on her show who had a near-death experience, and she was gone for a few minutes. But she talks about how when she was in the afterlife and she was coming back, it was made clear to her that she had been in the afterlife for 2 weeks. For whatever reason, it was very important for her to know that and to bring this information with her. So what she experienced as 2 weeks in the afterlife was a few moments here on Earth. Another thing that people can experience in their near-death experiences is all things happening at once. This isn't just referring to time. They can be in all parts of space at the same time. They can be living all moments, all realities in different places at the exact same moment, because time either doesn't exist on the other side or it works differently. My feeble understanding is that it works differently. It exists, it's just different. So, in this vision that I received, where Charlie was looking at his kids and he was confused, or looking at his wife specifically, and his kids were there too. He was in several different moments at the same time. And it was all superimposed on each other, right? So it was all these different layers of reality, of time and space layered on top of each other. And when people are in the process of crossing over, because remember, he hadn't crossed over completely. He was still in his body, but his spirit was out. And that was the part that was most conscious from what I can see, is the part of him that was spirit that was outside of his body. He was experiencing being in this world and the next at the same moment. So he was acclimating. And so this experience of all things happening at exactly the same time, being in all of space at the same time, it was just beginning to unfold for him. So when he saw his wife and his kids in the crowd, when he went to them, they weren't in the crowd, right? We know that they weren't there. At least that's what I've been told. I've tried to validate this when I've gone online to search after people pointed this out to me. I don't know if his family was there or not. I still can't get a clear answer on that. I believe that they probably were not there, because when I saw the vision, I felt like they weren't actually there, but I saw them there. Anyways, I don't think they were. So wherever his wife was when she got the news, that's what he was seeing. Wherever his kids were, he was seeing that. He was seeing, but he was experiencing it all at the same time. And instead of his soul projecting over onto the plane or their home or at their grandma's house or wherever his family members were, because I think that they were spread out. I could be wrong, but I think his kids were in a different location. His wife was in a different location. Again, I could be wrong on that. Maybe his wife and kids were together. I really don't know. But he was experiencing it all at the same time, as if they were in that crowd. So the way it was superimposed made it look like they were there. And that's how I believe it looked like for him, because he didn't fully understand what was happening yet. Like, I do believe that he knew he had stepped out of his body. I do believe he knew that he was crossing into the other world. But I do think that he was confused at seeing his wife and kids there when they weren't supposed to be there. And in the vision that I saw, I was seeing things as he was seeing them, as he was experiencing them. At least that's my belief. So a lot of people watching this are probably saying, well, that's great, Nicole, but it sounds like a lot of BS. I think you're making that up. I understand why you would say that. That's why I say I came with receipts. So there are a few different NDE experiences that I want to share with you. And the first thing I want to start with is an interesting transcript from Bruce Greyson. Now, if you don't know who Bruce Greyson is, he is an American psychiatrist, and he is a researcher of near-death experiences. He wrote a book called After. A doctor explores what near-death experiences reveal about life beyond. So I found this clip of him speaking about time happening at once and the perception that near-death experiencers have on a YouTube channel called Buddha at the Gas Pump. If you haven't checked out Buddha at the Gas Pump, please do. There are such awesome topics there, wonderful hosts, great guests. I'm pretty sure you'll subscribe to that channel if you have an interest in spiritual topics and afterlife type conversations. So be sure you check that out. So I'm going to read you the transcript that is from one of Bruce Greyson's segments from Buddha at the Gas Pump. So Bruce Greyson went on to say, of people who have had near-death experiences, there's a sense of timelessness that people have in a near-death experience. Many report that in this other realm, it's as if time does not exist or there was no concept of time. Everything was happening all at once, or everything happened in eternity. And when they come back and they tell me about this, it seems like a paradox, because they describe the NDE as a sequence of events. This happened, then this happened, then this happened. And I ask them, How can that be in a timeless environment? How can you have a sequence if there's no progression of time? And the response I usually get is that, yes, that's the paradox. Once you're back here in your brain thinking linearly, when I was over there, it made perfect sense, but here I can't make sense of it again. It's an idea of our brains being so limited that we can't really describe or appreciate all the things that happened in the other realm. I will put a link to this reel that I'm quoting from in the description area. You can check that out, and I'll see if I can find the full episode and link that for you guys as well. So source number 2 is going to be from a woman by the name of Ivonne Kase. I found her fascinating story on the Shift Network YouTube channel. I will link to this video in the description area so you can check that out too. Yvonne was in a plane crash, and she says this about time and how she experienced it in her near-death experience. She says, the passage of time didn't seem like the passage of time down here, so I call it timeless time. And it seemed like past, present, and future all sort of coexisted up there, or you could see all of them at the same time, and I could see it was revealed to me like a veil had been removed from a big jigsaw puzzle, and all the pieces were in place now. Another thing she went on to say is that when she was returned to her body, so when she was coming out of her near-death experience, she says that as she started breathing life back into her body, and this is where I'll start reading from the transcript from her testimony. She says, for the first few minutes, I could see both realities at the same time. It was like both realms were superimposed, one on top of the other. I could see this worldly realm where I was lying on the ground with a splitting headache, trying to breathe life back into my body. And I could also see the realm of light with my masters. They seemed that they welcomed me into the light when I died, but they also ushered me back into my body when I was to come back in physical form. So here we have a few testimonies, right? I guess one testimony of someone talking about her near-death experience and how, two realities were superimposed at the same time. We have that clip from Dr. Bruce Greyson. And then also I want to share one more thing with you that I found on Reddit. And yes, I know Reddit may not be the most reliable source, but I'm going to share it with you anyway. And I know you'll be shocked to hear this, but I'm going to have the link for it in the description area too. So you can go check out the thread if you want. So someone started a thread there called Being in Multiple Places at Once and Time Dilation. So he goes on to say, or maybe it's a she, I don't know. I've been reading about the phenomenon of what's called bilocation, and it fascinates me. I've independently called this phenomenon simultaneous dreaming, but the standard term looks like it's bilocation. I also want to stop here and say that what he's saying is interesting. Bilocation typically refers to being at two places at the same time, but many people in near-death experiences, or even people who meditate and go out of body and have these astral experiences, they experience far more than just two realities at the same time, okay? But I like how this person phrased everything, so we're going to continue to read that. I just wanted to make that part clear. Okay, so jumping back in. Recently, someone posted an article that children's NDEs often feature bilocation. This astounds me and is not just a little discovery in my view. Let me explain. Bilocation is the phenomenon of being consciously present in multiple places at once, fully immersed in two different 360 visions at once, not alternating between the two, but at the same time. Example, imagine yourself reading this text right now. You're fully immersed in it. And then at the same time, you're having the experience of opening gifts up for the holidays. These first-person perspectives do not overlap one another in one's perceptual view, nor are they side by side in a sort of split screen. Rather, it is as if yourself is split into two or more, and you are in multiple places, fully immersed in them all at once, oblivious to the other perspectives at the same time. And he goes on a little bit more, and he's asking other people if they've had that experience. And so there is one person in here, and she says, yes, marvelous description. During my NDEs, I had fluctuating amounts of being able to be present in multiple places. That said, I also experienced such multi-location, as it were, in more than one way. So here we have a really good explanation of what it's like to be in the spirit world and to be in multiple places all at the same time. And I love how this person phrased it, where he said, you are conscious, like you are present, you're immersed in all these realities at the same time. So when it comes to Charlie Kirk, seeing his wife and his kids in the audience, and me explaining to the best of my ability what I was seeing in that moment, and everything else that I expressed and explained and tried to articulate with Charlie Kirk's afterlife journey and how I saw it, how it was downloaded to me. I hope this helps to explain that. I hope it helps to explain why he saw his family, why he was initially confused, because again, you had these realities that were all overlapping each other. And me as a psychic medium, again, sometimes it's just it's hard sometimes for me to understand what I'm seeing. And then if I kind of have a little bit of an understanding, if there's a lot to unpack, like I mentioned earlier, I may not be the best at dissecting and explaining certain things because there's so much more to get to, and my senses sometimes get overwhelmed and overloaded with all the information I receive, much less trying to put it into articulate spoken form. So I hope that this helps to bring understanding to that type of experience that people have either in NDEs or when they do cross over on the other side. So if you have ever had a dream or a vision of one of your loved ones on the other side, and you maybe saw layers of realities that you didn't understand, maybe you sensed that you were seeing a memory of theirs, but you knew that there were aspects of the memory that were not congruent with how things actually happened, it's possible that they are showing you different realities and different things playing out at the same time, how it kind of overlaps. So that is a possibility. And, you know, when I talked about Charlie Kirk's afterlife journey, there were things in that experience and the visions that I received that didn't make sense, not just with his family, but also I talked about the room with the judges. You know, it felt like it was kind of a small room at first. It actually kind of reminded me of the courtroom in the series Loki. If you haven't seen the TV series Loki on Disney Channel, it is a fantastic show. I love it. I have seen it so many times. But there is a scene where they go before the timekeepers. And when I received this vision of Charlie's afterlife and I saw him before judges, the room, the smaller room reminded me of that room. It wasn't that room. It wasn't exact, but it just like kind of had that feeling. But then also in the vision, I knew he was in the same room, but the room expanded and then there were more judges and then it kind of contracted again. So that's something I can't explain. I don't understand why I saw that. And, yeah, I can't give an explanation to that one. And I think there were a couple other things in the vision and the information I received intuitively that just kind of had me go, what? But I can't remember if I mentioned those other things or not. So anyhow, I hope that this at least gives you something to think about. And even if it's something that you're watching and you're like, I don't believe this, Nicole, I think you're just trying to cover your tracks, you know, whatever, that's fine. You know, I'm not here to convince you of anything. I am here to share the visions that I receive and to also give the possible and probable explanations for them. And I think that experiences like these are interesting because we can all grow from them. We can all learn from them. So if nothing else, I hope you at least learned a possible idea that maybe you hadn't played with before. And even if you don't believe what I said, but you somehow find this theory interesting, then I hope that you will start doing your own research on it. And again, I believe the best place to learn about this type of phenomenon is to dive into the testimonials of people who have had near-death experiences. But also, if you are a practice meditator and you start meditating and you start working with something like astral projection, it's very possible that you could experience some type of overlay in time. I know that for me, when I've meditated and when I've traveled to different realms, which I've done many, many times, there have been numerous times when I was in meditation for more than an hour in this world, right? And I was out, I was out of my body. I was having a different conscious experience. I was in another realm. I was meeting interesting people or beings. And when I came back to my body, I was shocked because time never seems like it matches what I experienced in that other realm. There's been times where, like I said, I would have been meditating for an hour or more, and it felt like I was on the other side or in this other realm, in this mystical realm, for only 20 minutes. And there's other times when I've been meditating for only a half hour, and I could have sworn that this meditation had lasted for hours because of the wonderful experiences that I was having in these other realms. So be an explorer of consciousness, be an explorer of the afterlife. Don't take my word for it. Don't take just some random person's word for it. Start looking into the research because it's fascinating and it's out there. I also think that Bruce Greyson's book is a fantastic place to start. And then, of course, there are so many different NDE channels on YouTube. There's so many different NDE podcasts available now on Apple, Spotify, Amazon, of course. So dive into it. And even if you start doing this research into NDEs and into altered states of consciousness, even if time isn't specifically something that's mentioned over and over again, although it does come up frequently in these testimonies, these stories, the experiences, the studies, there's going to be other aspects of these experiences that come up that I know you'll find just as fascinating. All right. So keep learning, keep building that knowledge. And thank you so much for taking the time to watch this video. I hope that you enjoyed it. I hope you learned something from it. And if this is your first time here, remember to hit that subscribe button. Over 80% of people who watch my videos regularly aren't subscribers. And if you subscribe, that does help the YouTube algorithm to know that you are interested in watching videos like this. And then, of course, it also helps this channel out as well. So thank you for your time, and I will see you in the next video.